plumberparts.co.uk. Honest reviews and advice. Holla and welcome to today's plumberparts.co.uk video. Today we're going to have a look at domestic heating pumps, how you change them, how they work, the things that can go wrong with them, and just everything about them. If we miss anything, let us know as usual, and we'll get back to you. Here is a central heating pump. Now this one is inside a combi boiler, but you can also find them in your airing cupboard or anywhere really on the heating circuit that requires flow. They're generally in the airing cupboard or in the top of your combi boiler. Now if we look at this one firstly, you'll notice that the shaft is actually pointing up in the air. Now this has been installed incorrectly. If air can get up in the shaft, this will actually seize. So that's what's happened with this pump here. It's actually seized up and is not working properly. So we've got a new pump to put in here, so we're going to shut these gate valves off here, whip the pump out, do the electrics, pop the pump back in, turn the gate valves on, vent the pump, have it the right way round, and hopefully everything will work fine. One thing to remember is, while it's not a good idea to have the shaft actually pointing upwards, you can have it pointing horizontally, or any way that air will not get caught in the shaft part and the electronics bit of the actual pump itself. So never have the pump upwards. Don't do it, it's bonkers. So firstly, isolate the electrics and turn off the heating system and everything. Make sure it's fully isolated. If you're not competent in doing anything electrics or anything like that, don't do it. Once you've done that, turn each one of the gate valves off. Once you turn the gate valves off, get a fat screwdriver, undo this and vent any pressure or water there might be. We do this because then we know that the gate valves are holding. Now, if water still comes out at this point and just keeps on coming out, the gate valves aren't holding and you're going to have to drain the whole system down, which is a complete annoyance. If you want to know how to drain a pressurised system down, look at our channel, and it's the same for a feed and expansion system. Just go back to the channel, you'll find it all there. If we look closely at the inside of this shaft, we'll see that there's a small slotted screw bit at the end. Now, if sometimes the pump can get seized, and you can pop a little slotted screwdriver in the end of that and spin it, and that will unseize the pump, and you never know, you might not need to change it anyway. So we'll have a quick look at there, and you can see what I mean. So if we look in here, there's our slot, our small slot just there. Pop our screwdriver in there and that should move. Now that's moving alright, but this one's actually got burnt out windings. Before you remove a pump, always make a note of the direction of the pump. You'll find that somewhere on the body there'll be a little arrow pointing in the direction that it actually pumps the water. Make a note of that, and when you put the new pump on, make sure the arrow on that new pump points the same way. Right, so now we get a big set of grips. Now these can be hard to undo. Oh, these are lovely and loose. Look at that, beautiful. And that comes off nice and easy. Do that to each end. There we go. Old pump out of the way. So it's a good time once you've got the pump out to check inside each one of these valves to make sure they're not all clogged up, because they do get clogged up. The reason for that is there is a magnetic force around a pump, and you have very small particles of metal going round through the water, and they get attracted to this area and they basically clog it up in the end. So it's always a good idea just to check in there and see how clogged up it is. Let's have a wee little peek at our new pump. Pumps are all generally the same length, so you should find that it fit in the old slot okay. So that's great. And also make sure you don't lose the fibre washers or the rubber washers. Now these rubber ones are always a lot better. Fibre ones are just slightly harder to make a seal. They create a seal on the flat here to the flat on the actual pump itself. I'd also recommend as well, if when you're working on these, it doesn't hurt to get a little file and just file these off so they're nice and clean. Fortunately these are clean already, but sometimes they get a bit dirty, and it can only save you from hassle later on in the job. So whip each one of these out. Let's have a quick look at the arrow. The arrow is pointing that direction. The old arrow is also pointing that direction. So let's just lay it in where it needs to be. So what we do, we get our washer, just slot that in there. This is always a bit of a fiddly bit, so just, you know, give it your best shot. Try and get that so it's pinched in there. Whip this over and tighten that up. But now just do that hand tight. And do the same at the other end. Just pop a pair of grips on here. Just nip it up lightly. It doesn't need to be too tight, just nip them up nice and lightly. Do that to both ends. Now we can turn the water back on the valves and test for leaks. Once you've made sure there's no leaks, just open up the nut on the end of your new pump and wait till a little bit of water comes out. As soon as you get water out, close that nut and you've properly vented the pump and it should be okay to work. Now we're going to change the electrics over. It's really as simple as doing a plug. It's just a live, earth and neutral. So yeah, it's really easy to do. Make sure you use a grommet. Make sure it's all properly clamped in so no one can pull the wire out, and just do a good proper job. Alright, before we do anything, just slip everything on over the grommet. You don't want to be doing this after you've connected the wires, because you can't. You'll have to take them all off again and start again. So pop all these in. Now we remove the top of the pump. As you can see, you've got a live, neutral and earth. When you open one of these up, it opens up a small clamp. So just clamp each wire in where it needs to be and put the lid back on. Before you pop your lid back on, just put all this together. Make sure your grommet's in the right place and all tightened up. Pop the lid back on like so. And now you're ready to turn it all back on. Right, so we now changed the pump over and everything's working okay. There are a few little things that you need to think about when using a pump. Number one, if the pump speed is set too high, you can sometimes create air. The impeller in the pump will spin so fast and the water won't be able to get away from it as quick. It'll actually separate the particles and create air. So that's the first thing you need to think about. Always start the pump on the lowest speed, and if you're getting everything hot like that, then leave it on the lowest speed. Then if you aren't, bring it up one speed, but don't just start it on 3, because you might not need it on the highest setting. I hope you found today's video helpful. I hope we've covered everything, or I hope at least we've given you a pointer on how to change a central heating pump. If you need any more help or any more information, let us know through our channel or go to our website at plumberparts.co.uk, and as ever, give us some love on Twitter and Facebook, and I will hope to see you all very soon. Hold tight my G's, holla! plumberparts.co.uk. Honest reviews and advice.